welcome back. If you happen to find yourself an author tube today, my name is Ella. This is my channel where I talk about writing, laugh a lot, and edit badly. So, it is late November, everybody's favorite time of the year. And Thanksgiving is coming up. What's Thanksgiving about? Squash, turkey, thankfulness. That's what I'm looking for. Yes, it is the time to be thankful. And I figured I'd share a few of the books that I'm just so happy that they exist, and I don't think I would get through life without them. So, that's why I'm literally hugging the books in the thumbnail of this video. But then again, I'm also hugging the books in my other thumbnails because I can't hold stacks of books. My arms are weak. I have very weak upper body strength. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but now you know. So, shall we get started? Yes, we should. Also, before we start, I just wanted to ask, what books are you guys thankful for? And especially this time of year, I just think it'd be really important to pick some books and tell you why I'm thankful for them and why I just think that you should read them. Yeah, it's basically my favorite books, but these are the books that either really inspired me or I either really relate to them, and I just think that you should read them if they seem interesting, even though they're all very popular YA books except for 2. So my first book is Carrie by Stephen King. This book is so heavy. This is a book. It has 3 Stephen King books in it. Carrie is right there. Carrie is, it's about this girl with the overly religious mother, and she gets bullied because she's weird, and she gets pig blood dumped on her and then sets fire to everything. Yay! Yeah. It's much more than that. It's really psychological thriller horror book, and it really kind of inspired my love of psychological horror. I love the book, the novella. I love the musical. It's a surprisingly good musical. And I also enjoyed the movie, even though it's just the book, but worse. But it was still enjoyable. And I've written many, I don't know. It just really inspired me reading Carrie. And yeah, that's it. I got inspired by that one. The next one is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. And this book is so emotional with literally every emotion. It's so sad, but it's also happy, and it's also angry, and the characters are reflecting that. This book almost got me to cry, but it didn't, because I don't cry in books. I've always tried to read books that will make me cry to prove that I could feel an emotion, but no, this book definitely made me feel emotion. It was taking me on a roller coaster, and I was riding the roller. I was ready, strapped in, taking me wherever this book took me. It's about this kid, and his mom has cancer, and she's dying of cancer. But the son really doesn't want to believe that she's dying. I don't remember the names of any of these characters. And he gets called every night by this monster, hence the title of the book. And the monster tells him stories, and tells him 3 stories, and the last night he says, "You have to tell me a story or I get to kill you," I think. It's not a scary book. The cover's a little scary, I guess, but it's not a scary book. It's a very emotional read, which I was not expecting, but I was there for it. It's the best book that deals with grief and childhood grief that I've read. So it's so important, and I'm so happy that it was written. The next book is a book that I have a very weird relationship with, and that is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. Quick, side topic thing. People don't like the little cutaways in books, but I think they're so cute. This one especially has little clocks on it, which I think goes with the theme and plot of the book so well, which brings me into the plot. It's about this world where there's this thing called Deathcast, and they'll call people at the beginning of the day, and they'll be like, you're going to die within the next 24 hours. And you really get to see how, like, the world is affected by that. I personally found that the most interesting part of this book, because it is essentially a romance between these two characters who meet on an app called Last Friend, and they're both dying this night. When I first read this book, I was completely distraught. I, like, sobbed over it. This is the only book that I've actually ever, like, physically cried over, but it wasn't just, like, tears. It was like a waterfall down my face. I was so invested in this book. I reread it this year, and it wasn't that good. But I kind of understand during the time that this book was just really, really important to me. It doesn't so much as, it's not sorrow, it's more of like celebrating like their lives and all the good parts of their lives, which I thought was really good. This book just means a lot to me, and I'm really happy that I read it at the time that I did, instead of reading it like now and not liking it as much. But 13-year-old Ella loved that book, so. Next book is a book that like everyone has read and everyone should read, so I'm not complaining about that. And it's like the only book I own in hardcover too. That is The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. This book is about a girl named Star, and she lives in this not so great area called Garden Heights. She moved. Okay. It doesn't say the name of it. The poor black neighborhood where she lives, and the fancy suburban prep school which she attends, and she's basically like two different people there. And then this one night she's coming home from a party and she gets pulled over by the police. I don't know why I'm reading from it. Yeah. And her friend, I don't know his name, because again, it's been a few years since I read this, gets killed, gets murdered by a police officer, and it goes through her like grief with that, her trying to get the police officer arrested, which I think this year has also really emphasized how hard that is. You know, it's just a really important book. That's what I'm trying to get across. More than just the plot of the police brutality, it also focuses a lot on family dynamics, which I think Angie Thomas is so good at writing. I've also read her other book, On the Come Up, and I loved it too. I think I gave like both these books 5 stars, which they deserve. I can't wait for Concrete Rose, which is Angie Thomas's book coming out in 2021. And I actually cried at this movie in the ending scene, and I did not expect that, so it just shows that it's just really good. And also Angie Thomas's writing is just so good. Her writing style, I love it so much. That's all I have to say. This book is so important, and I'm so happy I read it because it really gave light on situations that I really don't know that much about. Yeah, that sounded pretty professional, except for the part where I totally messed up the synopsis at the beginning. Next is a book that everyone also read, and it's like the first YA book I actually owned on my shelf, and that led to me reading it a lot, which led to just a connection with it. That is Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. This is about a closeted boy named Simon who is communicating via email with this other closeted boy at his school named Blue, but that's not his real name. He doesn't actually know who it is. And the book just follows the emails and his like growing relationship and him coming out, and it's just a really like fluffy, sweet book. And again, it's just the first like YA book, and by YA I mean like not children's or middle grade. So I I've read this like 50 times because whenever I get bored, I'm like, this book is so easy to read. It takes me like an hour to read it, and it's like 300 pages. And it's just so sweet. I really like the characters in this book. Of course, I think they were ruined in another book by Becky Albertalli that I'm not going to mention. And yeah. That book was not so coherent. I also just want to say that this book accurately depicts theater kids, and as a theater kid, I greatly appreciate that. The next book is a book that I do not see enough people talking about, and it needs to change. And that is Lost in the Beehive by, I'm reading off my notes, Michelle Young. I cut off the name. I cut off the last name. I'll put the name on screen. This is the author's name, right here. Michelle Young, something that starts with an S. It's about this girl named Gloria who is sent to conversion therapy, and that the book doesn't follow that, though it mostly follows her life afterwards and how it affects her, the friends she meets, her like romances, her family dynamics. This is my cousin's favorite book, and she lent me this book like April, and I read it, and it was very, very good. I was not expecting it to be that good because me and my cousin have very differing tastes in books. And it was so raw and emotional, and yet simply written. And the whole time I was reading it, I was like, why does nobody talk about this book? So go read it. I can't really put my words into thought. The next book I wanted to mention was actually like one of my most recent reads. And it is The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy, which is the sequel/companion novel to The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which I did enjoy, but like not nearly as much as I enjoyed this book. This book, I just felt like it really had it had such a good depiction of female friendships and feminism, which was really like impressive being the time period this book was set in. It follows Felicity, who really wants to be a doctor, but she is a woman in the 1800s, so she can't do that. So she like goes on pirate journeys and like and all these fun things, and it's just so much fun to read. I really did not expect to like this book because I got so many people. I've heard so many people say that this book's just not as good as A Gentleman's Guide, but it's like better. And honestly, I think that was just people's sexism. But I have a lot to say about that, and don't get me started because I don't want to rant. This video is long enough. Oh, also, one more thing. I was expecting this book to be like good until we hit the romance part, but let me just say that I was not disappointed by the end of this book where the whole romance plotline went, because I mean, Felicity doesn't need anyone. I'm so happy that this book acknowledged that. Oh, next is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. I don't have the book I own the book, but I don't know where it is. And also in my notes, I spelled it Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. So my notes are not well done. Basically, I just relate to every single character in this book. I relate to Frances's, like, her nerdiness and, like, how she loves all these, like, things, but she doesn't want to express them out of embarrassment, and also her feelings towards school. And I also really connected with Alad's mental health and, like, what's going on inside of that mind of his. And then just Daniel. I love him. I can't even put into words. I just love that character so much. I don't know. I can't put my words into this book into words. It's just that good. Read it. Everyone loves it. Like, literally everyone on BookTube gave it 5 stars. So why shouldn't you? That's it. That's all I'm saying for that book. I loved it. I'm thankful for it. So next is a book that I did not expect to be important to me at all. But then I read the book and it was like really important to me and special in my heart. And yeah, I don't have it, so I can't hold up anything. And that is Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. Oh, did you expect that? No, me either. First of all, I don't like fantasy. Second of all, I hated Carry On. So I don't know why I read the sequel. Maybe it's because my expectations were so low that I loved it, but I loved this book, which I'm in the minority of people who liked this book better than Carry On. Probably because it's not an intense fantasy. It's very light the way it's written and like cute little road trip magical fantasy, but there's some very serious themes. Especially, this part was only lightly touched on, but I really hope it's touched on in the 3rd and final book in the series. And it's like Simon's, the main character, Simon Snow. I haven't been describing the plots of these books. Yeah, it's basically a road trip book with vampires and magic and dragons and stuff. I did not sell that book as well as it should be sold, but what I was saying, I really appreciated Simon's relationship with like physical affection, because this whole time he's kind of like shying away from people's like just physical touches, like on his shoulders or arms or anything. And there's this part in the book where he says like, I'm fine when like I initiate, like I can touch someone, but I don't like it. I like controlling my own personal space, and someone has to like ask if they want to even like put their hand on my shoulder. And I'm like, someone put it into words. And that part got there in my ebook, and that I was reading, and I put it down, and I was just like breathing. It was just a moment. It was a moment. And also avocado toast. Agatha at the beginning of this book eats avocado toast, and I love avocado toast. Had it for lunch today. Did I write that in my notes? Yes, I did. I wrote Simon stuff, avocado toast. And then the last and final book, which is not a novel, but it is still a book, is When the World Didn't End by Caroline Kaufman. Again, this book, like, okay, basically this book is a poetry collection, and it is just my brain. Like, Caroline Kaufman took my brain and wrote it as poetry. And she does have another poetry book, which I feel that is very strong, which is called Light Filters In. But When the World Didn't End is definitely the one I'm just related to the most. And I love it. I loved it. That's it. It also has a beautiful cover. Light Filters In. Look at these covers. They're so pretty. Poetry books are so cute. They're just like the best covers. Also, they're really nice hardcovers. So, that is it with all of my books. I just wanted to mention too that I just thought of before I was filming this. Books that I'm thankful for. These were my 2 favorite books from my childhood, and that is the Series of Unfortunate Events series by Lemony Snicket, which is like the only series I've ever completed, and I just loved it when I was a kid. And I was so inspired by it. I wrote like 50 spin-offs of it by myself. Oh my god, was I writing like fan fiction in 3rd grade? I just didn't have a word for it. Probably. I just wanted the book with more murder, which is weird because that book like has a lot of death. I don't know. I was a weird 10-year-old. I just said third grader and then 10-year-old. I read the series a bunch of times in elementary school. And then the other book I want to mention is actually my favorite book of all time. And it what has been since I was like 9. And that is The One and Only Ivan. And I'm not even going to say anything about this book. I like cried at the book and I cried at the movie multiple times. And it's just, I think, one of the best written things ever. Period. That's what I'm going to leave it at, those two books. I don't want to, like... Because they are, like, children's, I think. I read them both as a children. So, yes. Okay. I hope you have a pleasant day and a nice Thanksgiving. Make sure to socially distance and eat pumpkin pie. And with that,